All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to draw the tool holder figure 758 in isometric. So I have my isometric snap on and I have ortho on, and I'm going to start like I usually do and just kind of start boxing this in. So I'm going to go back 3.78 in my front plane, and then I'm going to hit F5 and go straight up the total height, which was 2. And then I'm going to hit F5 again and come back down the 3.78, and that's my front plane there. I'm going to come to my start point again, hit F5 and go to the right 2.24 for my depth. And I'm going to go straight up. So what I'm doing is boxing this whole thing in, because you'll notice there's a lot of angles. So I need to box it in to figure out my distances for those angles. And then I can go ahead and box the back side in. So I'm going back the whole depth, 2.24. And then that comes down to meet this one. So I'm starting out with just the big rectangular prism. And the first thing that I'm going to get is this 45-degree angle, because everything else is going to work off of that. I know that I need to go over 0.5 right here, but I don't know how far up this is because I can't find that dimension in the original. But I can toggle over to my multi-view and figure out what that is, because we have drawn this in the multi-view, and therefore we know what this height is now. We just have to put a dimension on it, and that is 0.26. So I'm going to go over 0.5 and up 0.26 and connect the line there. So remember, non-isometric lines are lines that are at an angle. You have to find the endpoints and then connect them. So from this back corner, we're going to come up 0.5, which puts us there. So I just made that line at 0.5. And then I'm going to come up from here, that 0.26. And that's the dimension that I found. Remember whenever I came over here. So now I can connect those two endpoints, and that's my 45-degree angle. Now I can copy that, or I can come over 0.5 and up 0.26 on this side. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to copy. I'm going to choose this point as my base point and this point as my displacement point. And what that's given me is the ability to come in here and connect these with a line. Now, I still have a lot to do, but I no longer have to worry about getting this 45-degree angle and figuring out where these other things are, because I have the basis of what I need to do that. So I can come, if I want to work on what's in the front here, I can come over 1 and then go straight back 0.54. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on line. I'm going to come right here, and I have to hit F5 to go over top of my line that's already there. So I'm going to type in 1, enter. And then I'm going to hit F5 again because I want to go back in the right plane, and I'm going to type in 0.54. So this is at the very bottom of the object. So in order for me to figure out how far up that goes, I'm going to have to go back over to my multi-view and figure out how far that is. So if we remember, and let me just draw a line here so you can see it. This part went to that first cutout that we're working on right now. So we have to know the height of this headline. So we're going to go in here and look at what that height is, and it's 0.8. So from the end point that we just made, we're going to go straight up 0.8. Okay. And so we have this line at 0.8. Now we can't just take it back down and connect it right here. We have to make this line up to meet the line that we already made here. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that. So now I have this endpoint and this endpoint in which I can connect the line to. Now what we could have done to save us from having to figure out where this point was, we could have copied this line over. So if you look, if we would have gotten this point here, we could copy that line over and see that's the same angle because this is the same object, obviously. So we could have copied that line over and just brought this line up and not had to go to our multi-view to figure that out. Either way works just fine. We know this distance is 1.14 in between. So to get that, we can come right here and make that line over 1.14. And since we already do have this part of it, it's going to be easier just to copy. So I'm going to copy this one and this one. And I'm going to click copy here. I have this common endpoint. So this is my base point and this is my displacement point. Okay. And of course, we need this line to finish us out. And it just goes up to the other line. We will trim what we don't need out of here. And now we have that cut out. Now we need the corner part gone. We know it's 0.76 back and 1 over. So we are going to go, we'll just go 1 in this direction first. So 1. We know we need to go straight up to this point because we learned that we had to do that over here. And we're going to go ahead and trim that out. And now we know that we need to go 0.76 back in this direction. So we'll figure that one out, 0.76. And we know we need to go straight up to where it meets that angle. So since we already have this line here, all we have to do is trim it out. Now, this was 1 over as well. So if we made the line 1 over, we can just connect the two endpoints. So we're going to click here, make sure we're going in the right direction, go 1, enter, and then we come down here and connect to that endpoint that we already have. Now we do have to come right here and make this line straight down. So we could copy the line that we already have, or we can just make it down. We don't really know. Well, we do. That was 0.76, so we could have typed that in. But we know also that these two lines are going to meet. So because I didn't type in my distance, I'm just trimming. And I can also start trimming out some of this area. So I know all of this actually goes. I don't want to take off too much of my top yet because I might need some of that. What I do need is to finish up this line across. So those two should connect and meet. Okay, so that gives me the front part of that. I have an angle here and another angle here. Now, we talked about 45-degree angles. So if we know we need to go over 0.74, then we also need to go down 0.74 to get that 45-degree angle. So let's work on that one. We're going to come right here from the endpoint with a line and type in 0.74. We know that one comes out to meet the line that we already have. So I can trim that off. And then we also know that we can go down 0.74 because it's a 45-degree angle. So we're going to go straight down. And then what happens is those two lines will meet. Now, this one is already at that angle, so we would have to figure out where that was. But what we can do instead is just bring a line from here straight over to figure out where this endpoint is going to meet that angle. And at those intersections from here to here is where we put the other line. So now we can trim that. Now we could have gone into AutoCAD and figured out what our dimension was, but we know that our lines are going to end up meeting. So how we did it was just fine. And we end up getting that part. We probably won't need this line anymore for that corner. So we actually have a good amount of this drawn. Over on the other side, we have a 30-degree angle. We're going to do it the exact same way. We need to come over from this point, 1.12. So I'm going to click on line command, come here. Just make sure I'm going in the right direction. Type in 1.12, enter. And I'm also going to come out and just have it meet the front line like we did right here. And the 30, we know it's 0.74 down, but we don't know because this is not a 45-degree angle. It's not going to be the same on both sides like a 45-degree angle is. We just have to figure out what those dimensions are based on our multi-view. So we need to toggle back over to our multi-view. And we can do this a couple ways. We can figure out, because we have this point, we can figure out this point, which is going to be the 1.28 right here. So from the point that we have on our isometric, we can go out 1.28 and then go down 0.74. So let's do that. Let's do a line out 1.28. And then that's going to go straight down 0.74. Okay. And then what's going to happen here, this endpoint and this endpoint are going to meet. Now we have to figure out, because we know that we have this little flat area that comes out that 0.74. So we have to figure out where that comes out to, because we don't know how far out to come. We know we need to go down 0.74, but we don't know how far out to come. So we can't get the other side until we do. So we'll toggle back over and we will put a dimension right here, and that tells us that's 1.24. So from that back corner that we do have, will come out 1.24. And then we'll go down that 0.74. So from here, we'll go towards the front of the object, 1.24. And then we're going to go straight down 0.74. Okay. So that gets us exactly to the spot on that angle that we need to go. Now we don't know exactly this distance, but if you remember, we do know that dimension because we figured it out. That was 1.28. So we're going to go that same amount, that 1.28 from right here. Actually, no, we won't go the 1.28. We'll need to go the opposite of the 1.28. We have this, but we actually need this part. So let's figure out what that is. And of course, we don't want to keep these dimensions on your multi-view. We're putting redundant dimensions on there if we did. So all the dimensions you create, you need to erase. And so this is 0.64. So from here, we're going to come out 0.64 back towards, like in our front plane. So type in 0.64, enter. And that's what's actually going to come up and meet our line right here, the end point. Okay, so we had to figure out, how far out to come and then how far over to come to figure out where that met. But the great thing is all these lines are starting to meet up again. So this line will meet up to the back side. We can actually copy that line from here to here to show where it meets up. Or we could have come straight down 0.74 here and that would have met as well. But then the last line here goes from that endpoint to that endpoint. And we got quite a bit to trim. So we can go ahead and trim out some of this stuff. And we've got lines over top of lines, so it might take a couple clicks. And that is our object. You still need to go ahead and put the hole in here. No need to put hidden lines for the depth. Just go ahead and make the hole. It's a 0.625 diameter. So you would take half of that, which is 0.3125, and make that ISO circle. And you'll go up 0.62 and over 0.76 to make that an ISO circle. And so the way we would do that is come here from this corner, because that's where our dimensions are coming from, and we'll do 0.62. And then we'll hit F5, come back, 0.76. And remember, we have to type in EL for ellipse to pop up. Click on ISO circle and click on the center. Make sure we're in the right plane. So I'm hitting F5 to get in the ISO plane right. And that was 0.3125. Enter. And we'll go ahead and delete out those construction lines. And that gets all of tool holder figure 7.58.